the Queens parking brawl fiasco. Have you heard about this story? A 21-year-old student named Jada McPherson, who lives in Queens, she was looking for parking one day, okay? And she's driving around the block. This is the Ridgewood area of Queens. She's driving around the block for 30 minutes looking for a parking spot. And every time she drives around this block, she passes the same empty spot over and over again, right? And eventually she goes, you know what? I'm gonna try and park in this spot. The reason why she couldn't originally is because there were garbage cans holding the spot. So she gets frustrated after 30 minutes and she's like, you know what? I'm gonna take the spot. I don't care. So she attempts to pull in, and that is when she encounters a 45-year-old Romanian American woman named Andrea Dumitru. The reason I mention that she's Romanian is because her ethnicity comes into play in this, okay? So Andrea doesn't want to let her park in that parking spot because she's holding that parking spot. And Andrea's with some random dude, okay? They start getting into a verbal altercation back and forth. And that's when Andrea's 21-year-old daughter, Sabrina Starman, joins the chat, okay? Sabrina Starman is a 21-year-old woman who identifies as intersex and transgender, okay? And she is half Puerto Rican, okay? So she's mixed Puerto Rican and Romanian. Her mama is Romanian, okay? So Sabrina Starman, the 21-year-old, she comes down and now they're arguing, and that's when someone decides to start recording, okay? And that's when the video that we all ended up seeing starts. And in that video, you see them, arguing back and forth. They're not, Jada is in the street by her car, and Andrea and Sabrina are on the curb, okay, on the sidewalk. So they're not like right next to each other, okay? And they're just arguing back and forth. And at one point in the video, Andrea calls Jada a monkey. Jada is a black woman, by the way. She is a black 21-year-old, okay? She calls Jada a monkey. And Jada responds, I think she calls her an immigrant, okay? And they continue arguing back and forth. And that's when Sabrina Starman decides to take things into her own hand and she attacks Jada. This is all on video. She attacks Jada. Now, Sabrina Starman is much taller than Jada. She's bigger than Jada, okay? And so she runs up and she attacks Jada. And Jada and Sabrina are tussling, and here comes Mama Andrea. She jumps in, and the random man that they were with also jumps in, and the three of them jump Jada. So we have Sabrina Starman, her mama, and some random man beating up this 21-year-old black girl. And there are people on the street, a bunch of men, and nobody stepped in except for one dude who was on a cane. He had just had surgery and he couldn't do anything except for tell them to stop. And eventually another dude did step in and he kept the dude from joining into, he pinned the dude up against a car and kept him from joining in. But there was other men sitting on the stoop. There were two men standing on another stoop, one of which was a UPS driver in his full uniform who was black, watching this 21-year-old little black girl getting jumped by three people, one of whom was a man. And so the video gets released, and Sabrina Starman and her mother, Andrea, ended up getting arrested because people did call the cops, and Sabrina Starman and her mother got arrested for assault. The man who was with them, who was joining in and jumping her, disappeared. They still have not identified him. He's still at large, okay? But we're gonna come back to there's a little follow-up on that man. We're gonna come back to that. So they get arrested, and the video gets released and is circulating, okay? And so, of course, when everybody, the black community, sees this video, we are all up in arms. We're like, what the fuck? This is crazy. Over a parking spot? Like, what is going on here, right? So black community's up in arms. We going off on the internet, and it gets back to, black New Yorkers, and they They did what had to be done. They did what had to be done, okay? So they started protesting in front of Sabrina Starman and Andrea Dimitri's house, because that's the other thing. They did all this right in front of their house. On Putnam Ave. We all know they live on Putnam Ave now. They did this right in front of their house. So black New Yorkers came to protest on behalf of Jada, and you know, other things have been happening. And a video was circulating of that the guy, right, that's still at large. Nobody knows who this dude is. There's a video, apparently the block caught him though. He got his get back. There's a video of him, alleged video, maybe it's AI, we don't know, of him in the back seat of a car, let's just say roughhousing with some of the Black New York community members. So, you know, he got his, and they're still getting theirs because people are still protesting. People are, you know, I mean, for lack of a better word, people are coming for them, okay? And to the point that Sabrina Starman and her mother, now they scared. You wasn't scared when you were jumping this one girl. When the three of y'all were jumping her, you weren't scared, but now they're scared. So they went and they did an interview, you know, with this fake half-ass non-apology apology, all right? Because the block is hot, because they fucked up. And here is part of, this is their apology. I say that in quotes.
I was just thinking about my mom, you know, because I know the parking was being held for her. I just, for the safety of my mother, I wanted to see what was going on. The moment my mom had arrived and approached her calmly, she just started calling her racial slurs, threatening her, calling her old.
Let me just pause there. Now, we don't know what happened before the camera got turned on, but from what we saw when the camera got turned on, these are the bitches who started with racial stuff, okay? Let's just start there.
She wouldn't shut up. She
wouldn't the whole 9 yards.
Whatsoever, like at all.
The whole 9 yards. So I officially got out the building and I slightly approached her to see what was going on. And I was like, what happened? Because, you know, these insults were being heard by everyone. For a whole 30 minutes straight, she wouldn't, like, stop yelling. And I would understand if we reacted that way for a parking, but it wasn't for a parking. It was the way she approached us and provoked us for a whole 30 minutes straight, till the 45-minute mark where we got arrested because we were just only sticking up for ourselves.
I regret that. It was very wrong of me to do. Very wrong of me to do. It wasn't right. It wasn't right. I regret it. But to get humiliated and mentally abused for 45 minutes, her calling me names and provoking the situation.
I apologize for approaching myself the way I did it after being provoked. It's not the answer.
And she knows the truth.
Okay. And mind you, this is just a clip. I mean, it's a good 10 minutes. You should watch it if you're interested. But that's basically the vibe. The vibe is, I'm sorry, but I shouldn't have done that, but, you know, like she says, you know, I'm sorry that I went after her after she provoked me. And then the mom really had the nerve to be like, you know, in the full interview, she's like, you know, she yelled at me for 45 minutes. You know, she didn't even give me a chance to give her the spot. I would have just given her the spot. So you mean to tell me y'all were out there arguing back and forth for 45 minutes and nowhere in 45 minutes did you have a chance to say, just take the spot? At no point in 45 minutes could you have picked up your garbage cans and moved them? It's just such a trip. It's such a trip. And so, you know, this whole entire, this is like a textbook case on how not to apologize. You know, I know what I did was wrong, but she mentally abused me. Mind you, you were in front of your house. You could have gone inside. She can't walk in your house and follow you. If she was mentally abusing you for 45 minutes, why didn't you go in your motherfucking house? In that 45 minutes, why didn't you call the cops and say that this woman is harassing you over a parking spot? No, what you did was you attacked her because you thought that because you had two other people with you that you could do that. And now you want to play the victim. I mean, it's a classic case of Darvo, right? Deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. Classic case of that. So now these women and that dude, who knows where he is? Maybe he's left the country, and I think he should if he was smart. But now, they're dealing with the repercussions of their actions. Consta, meet quinces. Meet your quinces, okay? These are the consequences of your actions. And now you're trying to make yourself out to be the victim, which is wild. Also, Sabrina Starman, they tried to hide behind their identity as an intersex transgender woman. Oh, the transphobia that I'm receiving, which she's right. She is receiving transphobia. We're gonna talk about that real quick. But you don't get to hide your bad behavior behind other people being transphobic. And now you talking about, racial, baby, as far as the evidence shows, y'all are the ones that started that. So I just think it's so interesting how they're trying to spin it, because the block is hot. Y'all fucked up, and now you got to pay the price. You got to pay the piper. Unfortunately, it's sad. But I will say this much. I'm seeing a lot of people attacking Sabrina Starman for being transgender and, what do they call it? Misgendering her. And Black people, please, we can call people out without having to be problematic ourselves. We don't have to be transphobic. We don't have to be homophobic. We don't have to be ableist. We don't have to be xenophobic when we're calling people out. You don't have to do that. It's not like people really thinking that me doing that is, they didn't respect us, so now I'm gonna disrespect them by misgendering them. That logic, so basically what you're saying is that anytime a Black person does something wrong, then white people and non-white people or non-Black people, can turn around and start calling us racial slurs, start talking about EBT this and SNAP benefits that, all the nasty racist comments I be getting in my comments. Now, according to that logic, it's totally fine because that Black person did something wrong. So they're allowed to be called slurs and all kinds of racist ass stuff because they did something wrong. It's not the same. Let us not discriminate against marginalized people because we are marginalized people. And I don't know how many times we got to say this, but until all of us are free, none of us are free. Okay?